Hey, on this episode of Taskforce Geek, we talk about the wacky happenings on WandaVision and what it means for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're going to ask if you should ever pre-order a video game after the recent stuff that's been going on. We have a very special message from Stephen Speilberg. For Valentine's Day, we're going to name our favorite genre romantic movie, and our guest is writer Beth Anne Freely. That's all coming up now. Welcome to Taskforce Geek. My name is Dirk Hooper. This is our Valentine's Day episode, and I am joined, as always, by Sean.
Yep.
And Scott.
Howdy.
And here is our special guest, writer Beth Anne Freely.
Hey
How
there.
You doing, Beth?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Thanks for having me on.
I want you to
Beth.
notice. I want you to notice in the background, she's got a lot of geeky stuff back there. We'll talk
As
about
she
that here.
should.
That's right. That's the way we do things around here. We've already got comments. Are you kidding me? Wow.
Isn't that great?
That's
what
Brian
you want.
James says, already excellent, Miss Trooper. Thank you very much. All right. We are broadcasting live from multiple places. Let's see if I can get my act together. Maybe not. Here it goes. We're on Facebook. There it is right there. We got someone's replaying this in their background. We're also on my Twitter and Periscope.
I'm trying to turn it off.
At Dirk Hooper Plus. And we're on, that will drive me bonkers. And also we're on Twitch. And we got some people watch us on Twitch last week. And hopefully they will chime in again.
Was that me playing it in the background? Is that what you're picking up?
Probably.
I was trying to share the link and I couldn't get it to shut off. So sorry.
All right. Well, if you are watching us, please be part of our share team and share this to your platform. If you share this to your platform, then your platform becomes our platform, and we deeply appreciate that. All right. Again, it's a Valentine's Day episode. Let's get into it. Let's see. Oh, gosh, I'm not ready for this. Here it comes.
Come on.
All right. We're going to talk about WandaVision, and we're going to be very frank about it. So if you haven't seen Friday's episode, you might want to tune out or just tough it out with us. Just be part of the fun. WandaVision's 5th episode gave us more answers about this weird TV show than we've gotten in previous chapters. It turns out that prior to creating her suburban sitcom fantasy, Wanda broke into a S.W.O.R.D facility that was housing Vision's corpse. We also found out that Wanda is using her mind control powers for the first time since Avengers Age of Ultron. And Wanda seems to be projecting grief onto the entire town of Westview. For those catching up, WandaVision and Westview anomaly seem to be a manifestation of Wanda's grief over Vision's death. She's projecting a happy sitcom life, maybe inspired by shows she watched as a kid in Sokovia. To avert her mourning, all of this came to light throughout episode 5, and then a brief cameo in the final scene left viewers one giant question that might have future lasting implications for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Does the appearance of Wanda's late brother Pietro signal the introduction of mutants into the MCU? So on that question, I'm going first to Scott.
Answer. Is this signaling of the mutants? So we're going to go totally crazy with the spoilers, right?
Yeah.
I guess. So watching this with my children.
I just gave it all away.
I guess so. I just don't want anybody blaming me for something that they didn't watch. It's been out for 3 days. I mean, come
I
on,
think
man.
he already ruined it for everybody anyway.
I told you to get ready, so there it is.
I said many episodes ago that this possibly could be, and I didn't really I wasn't excited for WandaVision. I didn't really care. It started off like, oh, this is something I can watch with Jennifer because she likes to have a TV show to watch, and it is Marvel, so it's only 30 minutes long. Mandalorian's over. Here's something I can watch. And I said weeks ago that this potentially could be one of the biggest things we've ever seen. And every episode is showing more and more that it really is. My kids were very upset though when it was the Quicksilver from the Sony X-Men universe.
Yeah.
versus
Or the Fox X-Men.
Oh, my kids were so mad. And my oldest, I said, "You're only mad because that Quicksilver is not as hot as the one who died in the Age of Ultron." And she goes, "Well, Dad, yeah, kind of. The other guy's cuter."
I get that. I'm down with that.
But we all can admit that the Quicksilver that was in the X-Men movies, which X-Men movie was that? Was that Days of Future Past or the
Days
Apocalypse
of Future
one?
Past and Apocalypse.
Okay. That was maybe one of the best characters in the movie because they really blew. Those movies kind of sucked, really. I mean, from a comic book fan, I was really disappointed, and I have been with almost everything from the X-Men franchise. Just my opinion. If you enjoyed it, that's great. If you didn't, maybe side with me. But I like that character. That guy was awesome in that. And yes, I think this is the beginning of. I don't think this is going to collapse the universes and we get necessarily mutants, but we really might be getting the beginning of the multiverse to collapse it all into one universe. I mean, hell, we might even find out that this Wanda retreated from another, universe or something like that through her mutant powers, like not being able to control her hex powers, and she came here. I don't know. We don't know. And that's what's really good about this show is because everybody for 4 or 5 episodes, there's a character in the corner. That's Mephisto. Oh, this is this. Right. This is this person manipulating her. And so far, we've all been very, very wrong. And hasn't that been wonderful?
Oh, they played to that.
Yeah. I mean, it's been very, very wonderful. And as a parent, I keep telling my daughters, like, that's a red herring. And then they're like, what does that mean, Dad? And we get to look those things up. So we get to educate as we enjoy some WandaVision together. So that's my opinions. I'll let everybody else talk.
All right, Sean, what do you think, man?
Well, everybody keeps talking about Mephisto. As Scott so eloquently put, I think Mephisto's a red herring. I don't think he has anything to do with this. As far as the episode itself, I am not a fan of this Quicksilver. I've been very vocal about me not being a fan of this particular Quicksilver. Not that he's a bad character, not that he's a bad actor, not that he's portraying the character in his own way, but he's not Quicksilver. He's not. The other the other Quicksilver that appeared in Age of Ultron was much more true to the character, and I would like to see more of that. I don't care for the comedic aspect. That's the Flash. That's not Quicksilver.
Right.
And so to see him, I expected it, but I'm still disappointed in it. I would really like to see Aaron Taylor come back in some capacity. But you take what you get.
Beth, let's go to you. What do you think?
Oh, I'm gonna be the conflict here because I think out of the two Quicksilvers, Evan Peters Quicksilvers from the X-Men movies is my favorite. There's just something about the way they did his character, and he's not the comic book character. And
I'm with you.
Shout out to Walt, because Walt and I have had this conversation. I've learned over the years to separate my comic book canon and my movie canon into two separate things. You have to, yeah. I wasn't a big fan of Aaron Taylor Johnson, and I think I might have been a bigger fan of him if he wasn't in just one movie.
Right.
We really didn't get to know that Pietro.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. We got to know. I mean, if you sat there and you got through the First Class X-Men movies, which I did, and I love for what they are. There's just something about his character, the way he plays off of the other characters. Some of my favorite scenes from those movies is the way he played off of Magneto. There was chemistry there, and just in the little snippet that we've seen so far with WandaVision, there could be some chemistry going on. Brother and sister melding together. I agree that Mephisto is a red herring. I don't think we're going to see Mephisto in this at all. Then again, we might. I do think this is a combining of the universes. I think we are starting to see more of the multiverse. We saw beginning of it in Endgame. I mean, Loki that we have now is not the right Loki, and we all know this. He snuck off with the Tesseract. That screwed everything up in the first place. Captain America coming back as an old man. Wait a minute. You know, we've seen Steve Rogers do this before in the comic books. So if they're pulling aspects from the comic books, this could be the step into the right direction. Then again, it could be Wanda just completely going absolutely crazy. And, you know, in the next couple of episodes, they could totally throw us for a whole nother loop and take us in a completely different direction.
I totally feel like this is not going to answer our questions. This is only going to lead into other things where we want more and more and more, which is kind of like reading comic books, right? You know, you read one monthly, you get to the end and go, damn it. What? I got to wait 4 weeks for the next one. So they're doing a good job. I mean, like, you hate to admit it, but they're doing great.
Yeah, it's hard to really guess what they're doing with this necessarily, which is nice. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Also, with it being the month of Valentine's Day, and as a romance writer, I'm actually enjoying the interplay with Wanda and Vision. There is serious screen chemistry between Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany, and you see it on the screen, and it makes the first 2 episodes, which are so corny and so kooky, so much fun too.
Yeah, Paul Bettany has really shown that he has a lot of acting range and is exceptionally charming. Like I said maybe a few weeks ago, I'm surprised that, you know, one of the major networks hasn't called him up to do a regular comedy series or something.
As long as he's not
very good at it.
As long as he's not doing it with that retro 70s, 80s look, I'm okay. Because that was horrible.
Right. Well, that's kind of, I guess that came with the territory there. I think that I don't want you to get too much into the mind that this is Pietro. This is really going to be Pietro. This could easily be a swerve on the part of Marvel. We could still see a different Pietro. This could not be Pietro at all. This could be someone from an alternate universe, could be someone very different. I wouldn't read too terribly much into it, but it sure was fun to see that. I mean, I know that when they showed that silver hair, I was like, holy cats, we're really going to get Pietro here. This is very clearly the Marvel Cinematic Universe kicking down the door to the multiverse. I think that the multiverse, what's about to happen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe goes back to the Spider-Verse movie, which went over exceptionally well, and also what happened in the CW with the Flashpoint crossover, where they were pulling in everyone who's ever been in, you know, television series or whatever, you know, DC television series, from going all the way back to the old you know, 66 Batman series and stuff, and the phenomenal response that they had with that basically gave the green light to both DC and Marvel to just go nuts on this thing. And they're both racing to make this thing happen. This is the first chance that we've seen. They had they alluded to this in the last Spider-Man film, but they also kind of negated that. That was just a ruse. That wasn't actually the multiverse, but this is the multiverse. We're really getting into it now. And I have one other thing that I don't know if I've heard many people mention, and that is, I think there's a possibility that they are setting up Scarlet Witch to be the bad guy here. I think that it's entirely possible that Scarlet Witch could be a minor enemy of the Avengers for the foreseeable future, and that's not unheard of in the comics. She has certainly been an issue for the Marvel universe on several occasions, and so don't be surprised if by the end of this thing that you know, maybe Doctor Strange has to drop by to fix whatever is going on here. And let's not forget that she's manipulating the people of this town. She's manipulating people outside of this thing. She's not being outright violent or anything, but you could see how that could happen. So that's kind of my thoughts on that subject. So
I would actually welcome that just for a nice change of pace. To
Could
be
be
honest.
different, right?
Yeah.
I also thought it's crazy, like maybe hopeful Scott here, but if the timelines, like the multiverses, are starting to get fractured because of Loki and Wanda and all this stuff, I know it sounds really stupid, but like, what if Quicksilver is like a member of like the Marvel movie universe's Exiles, which has a lot of mutant characters from another timeline, and they've gone to this multiverse to kind of fix it.
I'd forgotten about the Exiles.
Maybe with the help of Doctor Strange, which could pull in like the Fantastic Four from another universe,
which we have heard rumors of getting.
Right, and then they all smash them together, and we get a little bit of both. Or what if for the next like 5 to 7 years, we don't know which universe we're in for a while? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. The sky's the limit to what they want to do. And because they've handled the first, 20-something movies really well, there's no reason to think they're not going to.
I think this whole thing injects a lot of, weirdness and excitement into whatever we got coming up next. People who are worried about, whatever Marvel's going to do next is not going to be all that thrilling. Hold on to your hat. Yeah. Walt says, if I recall, Kevin Feige said that the WandaVision was the lead up to the next Doctor Strange movie. So there you go. That, and also he says that rumor is that Wanda is the villain for the Doctor Strange movie, which backs up what I just said. So there you go.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I think that's a pretty neat deal. Does anyone else have anything that they want to add to the what they saw on WandaVision? Anything? I mean, it doesn't.
How many episodes we got left? 2, 3? Is it only 8 episodes?
9
total.
9 total.
9 total. Okay.
We got 4 left, and a lot can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot can happen. I think that I think for people who complained about it being too, I don't know, sitcom-y at the beginning of the thing, are going to be, they're going to be wishing that they had watched the thing from the beginning, because I think that a lot is happening here. And also, I might add one other thing for people who were upset because this started out as a comedy and it was weird, and they're like, it doesn't feel like Marvel to them. If you want to see people punching other people, it looks like the Winter Soldier thing, the Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Falcon. I mean, if you saw the trailer for the Falcon and Winter Soldier, that's going to be absolutely what you would expect from a Marvel series. They're going to give you that. It's coming, folks. But anyway, Walt says that there's 9 + 1.
Okay.
He says there's a bonus episode.
Okay. So there's 10 episodes. Okay.
All right. So there you go. All right. Well, we're moving on to the next deal. Here it comes. Hey, this is really not to pick on Cyberpunk, because we just talked about that last week. But just in general, just talking a little bit about, what's happening in the video game industry, and kind of get everyone's feelings about pre-ordering games. I want to mention this: the guy who did the video game, the Ori series video games, had kind of a scathing thing that he said about Cyberpunk and about No Man's Sky. Thomas Mailer, Moon Studios founder and director of the Ori series, is sick of it and has branded those guilty of such action, including the makers of Cyberpunk 2077 and No Man's Sky, quote, snake oil salesman. In a post on Reset Era titled "Why Are Gamers So Eager to Trust, Even Forgive the Snake Oil Salesman?" Mahler writes that the practice began with British game designer Peter Molyneux, the man behind the Fable and Black and White series. Quote, he was the master of, instead of telling you what my product is, let me just go wild with what I think it could be and get you all excited. And that was fine until you actually put your money down, and then the game was nothing like what Peter was hyping it up to be. And about Cyberpunk 2077, he says, quote, here the entire CDPR PR department took all the cues from what worked for Molyneux and Murray and just went completely apeshit with it. He said every video released by CDPR was carefully crafted to create a picture in players' minds that was just insanely compelling. They stopped just short of outright saying that this thing would cure cancer. This strategy resulted in a sensational 8 million pre-orders. So, not even just talking about Cyberpunk 2077. For those who play video games here, would you ever pre-order a game again? And first, I'm going to go to Sean on that.
The last game that I pre-ordered was it was to get pre-order bonuses. It was to get some of the extras that came along with it, and it was for one of my favorite developers at the time, BioWare, and the game was Anthem. I pre-ordered that. I was excited about that game, and then I played that game. I will never pre-order anything ever again. No. I've had many opportunities to pre-order other games, but after that last little sting, yeah, I'm done. I don't know of any extras or any bonuses that they could lay on me that would make me want to pre-order. And I said whenever they announced Cyberpunk, super excited for it. Will not pre-order. And of course, this all goes back to what I just said. I've been burned too many times with pre-orders. I will not do it
Jim.
Ever again. Not that I'm saying you shouldn't pre-order. Not that I'm saying don't pre-order. If it's something that you want, if it's something you're going to buy, I don't see why. I don't see a problem with pre-ordering the game. But if it's you're just going off the hype, you're just going off of the trailers that are come out, going off of interviews, what have you, I'd say hold on to your money. Just wait.
Beth, I don't even know if you play video games.
I do.
What's your thought? Okay, yeah. What do you think about this?
When I first started playing video games on the computer way back in the day, you couldn't pre-order games. And I've learned over the years that I want to be able to see what other people are saying about the game, because I game on the computer. I game on console. Not very good. It's more of a, when I need time to think, and away from writing, I'll go and, play some Assassin's Creed or something.
Yeah.
But I've learned just from hearing things like this that pre-ordering a game is not a good idea. For someone like me, I don't know what the difficulty level is. It could be so bloody hard that,
Sure.
I won't get any enjoyment playing it, and I've just wasted, $50, $60 on a game.
So true.
Mega Man 11.
So I think the only games I might be willing to pre-order are the Assassin's Creed games, but even then I'm drawing the line on it.
Those have been very consistent.
They've been consistent, yeah, but the biggest problem I have right now is I can't get all the games on one format. So I have some of them for my PC, I have some of them for the PS3. I want Valhalla in a bad way, but I have to go buy a PS4 for that.
Right.
So yeah.
So you have an earlier system.
We've got, believe it or not, we actually still have a working PS2, and we have a PS3.
I think Sean has every video game system that's ever been created, and it still works.
Yes.
Am I right, Sean?
Yes.
One of the guys that I tabletop game with has 3 or 4 different older systems. I mean, he's got an old computer system. I can't even tell what it is. It's so old that they still game on. So,
That's
but yeah,
funny.
yeah.
We have a few people that kind of chimed in for you, Beth. Jerry says, welcome to the Taskforce Geek community.
Thank you, Jerry.
Walt says, I know Beth is jonesing for Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yes, I am.
He's laughing about that.
As he should be.
Walt also says he wouldn't pre-order a brand new game. That's a non-sequel game. That's probably a pretty good way of doing it. And Ronnie asks, are you not allowed to send it back if they do not deliver on what was promised in the game? Typically, you are not allowed to do that. They did give money back on Cyberpunk because they're looking at like getting the pantsuit off of them. And I mean, Sony went as far as to remove them from the store, which is also pretty much unheard of. So that was, maybe people are kind of sick of it, but typically in the past, you do not get your money because some people will play the thing for 48 hours and then say, oh, I got to return this thing, and they've played the game. So
Right.
you almost can't do it.
Well, that, and like I said before, you get all these extra bonuses whenever you pre-order a game. And as soon as you download all that stuff, you've effectively just killed all of that. You can't return that.
Right.
It's done.
Right.
And the vendor themselves, they can't get new codes to resell. So they don't particularly care to take returns on pre-orders.
Well, yeah. I mean, business wise, it's nice to not have to give returns, but when you kind of screw people over, it doesn't work so well. Scotty, what do you think, man?
Last video game I actually pre-purchased or reserved to purchase or whatever was, I think it was called Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission. And this was a game that I thought was going to be just like the Dragon Ball Super collectible card game that I like to play and buy packs of, to get my kind of like Magic the Gathering fix, but with the world of Dragon Ball Super, with Goku and all the fun characters. I bought the game because I thought it was going to be, if you remember years and years ago, and I think Dirk remembers this, there was a Pokemon trading card game on like your Game Boy.
Sure.
And you could learn to play the actual card game of Pokemon card game versus the computer. And I thought this is what I was going to get.
Yeah.
And I was going to get these bonus, like super rare cards that only come in this one edition because it's a pre-sale and all this stuff. So I get it. I get my cards. I'm super happy. I load the thing up. And then it's kind of not what I want. Now, it's kind of like the game Dragon Ball Super, the collectible card game. But what I really think happened here is it was, after reading some on it, it sounds like this was a port from a game back in 2010 that the Dragon Ball Super trading card game is based off of. So this is maybe the predecessor to the physical Dragon Ball Super card game that I like to play. It's not really the same. It's okay, but it doesn't grab my attention because I wanted to play a solo version of the Dragon Ball Super game. So when I do go to tournaments, maybe I can know some of the mechanics better, know how to play the game better. So I was heavily disappointed, but I blame myself. I didn't do enough research on it. And I think that's a lot of times all our problems, really, when I guess I could go back to board games more than video games because I play a lot more board games. And I don't like just kickstart something blind too much anymore because like I want to trust the creators. So if I see a creator that I have several games in my collection already, or I have friends that have several games in their collection, which means I've played it several times, then you learn to start trusting creators. And every now and then they have a dud. But I think the more research you do, the better off you are. And, sometimes you're going to get crap anyways. I mean, because like everybody can't make a hit. But I think a lot of it is we see fancy graphics, we see cool, miniatures in a board game and stuff, and we go, oh, I got to have that. That's the same IP I love. And then we get it and go, oh, it's not as great as I thought. So you have to just be really, really careful on those things. I had another point to make, but I don't. I remember. When it comes to board games, all the time when I'm working,
I feel for you, man.
I was going on another tangent, but I really want to put this point across.
Yeah.
I get so much feedback when a customer comes into Wizards Asylum and says, "I'm looking for a game for my family," and I only tell them games I played. And I tell them that I'm only going to tell you games I played, and then I'm going to tell you what sells, and then you can make the decision. But I always tell them. I make sure they know me and my girlfriend buy a lot of games. It's worth your time to go to YouTube, especially if it's already sitting on our shelf, to go watch somebody who's played this game. They get to open it up. They get to set it up. You can watch 10 minutes and go, this game's for me or this game's not for me. Board games are $50 or more. Video games are $50 or more. You need to really do your research before you spend your hard-earned money.
So true.
And you don't know how many customers leave the store going like, man, I thought you were going to give me the hard sell and stuff. Okay, we'll go watch these things. And I said, once you find what you like, you're going to come back here multiple times over and over again, because I didn't try to quick sell you on some piece of crap.
I wish everyone did that.
And it works every time. There's one game in my comic store that I will guarantee that if you buy it and don't like it, I personally will buy it back because I'll find a home for it. And
what game is that?
That's Raiders of the North Sea.
Okay. Well, that's a fun game.
And Shem Phillips, every one of his Kickstarters since that game has just been just as good. I mean, everybody has their favorites and stuff, but he solidly makes good games. And until he doesn't, I'm always going to trust him and buy those games.
Yep.
And so, yes, people aren't perfect. They're not going to make the best game all the time. Like Walt said, he goes to a franchise that's maybe doing the next one to pre-order because he knew he loved the last one so much. Mm-hmm. You got to be careful. And at least with board games, we can see a lot of the components, and the community, they give these games early to some people so they can show you how to play it, so you can get a feel of it before you back the Kickstarter or whatever. So maybe we have a more advantage than maybe the video game community. So be careful. You got to be careful. And really, who cares if you get a couple free things? I mean, that really doesn't make, I know we have this, I got to have it all mentality, or I missed the Kickstarter on this board game, so I didn't get metal coins. The metal coins or the cardboard coins doesn't make a game better. It just feels better. It's bling. Doesn't help that much.
Sure.
So,
the closest that I'm ever going to get to pre-ordering a video game was Cyberpunk. I mean, I talked about Cyberpunk 2077 in glowing terms. I mean, it's the world for me. Like if I could, port myself into that world, that's where I would go. So, I was very excited about it. And, this is a case where CDPR had a really great reputation. They had not stumbled. They were very good with their products and delivering what they said they were going to do. They are not owned by a big corporation that could have screwed them over. Like, EA does a lot of different studios and different franchises and stuff. So, there was every reason in the world for me to think that I would be perfectly safe pre-ordering Cyberpunk. But as it turns out, that wasn't the case. I don't play a lot of video games. I find one video game that I really like The Division, and I played the shit out of it. I mean, I just play one game over and over and over because it's so hard to find a game that I like. So I'm very distrustful of things in general. And I think that the Cyberpunk is a perfect example. It just, underscores why you don't pre-order games, because even games that you look at BioWare with something like Anthem. BioWare is a great company, and for whatever reason they dropped the ball big time with Anthem, and they were telling you that Anthem was going to be the most fantastic new game, and they had a 10-year plan. It was going to be amazing. They're just going to be putting out great content, and now we get word that their EA is talking this week on whether Anthem will even exist, whether they're going to put any money to bring about Anthem 2.0, or whether it's just going to die on the vine. So anyway, I think that, if video game companies are promising like an extra hat or something for, pre-ordering a game, it's not worth it. Screw them.
Run away.
Make them produce the game and put it out, and so that you can at least hear from other people who have played it, or you can maybe rent it or whatever. Make them put their money where their mouth is before you put the money in their pocket, because in a lot of cases you're not going to get that money back. I can't think of any circumstance where getting some stupid it's always something stupid. You get a skin for your gun. Oh, great. Thanks for that great thing. It's never like you're going to get, an extra hour of gameplay. They're going to give you another map or something. You don't get anything for pre-ordering. So just wait. There's no reason to give them your money ahead of time. in my opinion. Do whatever you want, but it's your money, not mine, right? Ronnie says, if you sell a fence and promise the fence will keep out terrorists and it doesn't, you'll be looking for me to get your money back ASAP. It's the terrorist fence philosophy there. And since I said that word now, we're going to be censored on
Yeah, I
YouTube.
started saying, yeah, YouTube's going to flag us.
Thanks, Ronnie.
For being
Ronnie.
Political or whatever in the heck.
We're extremists.
Right?
We're anti-PC.
Does anyone else have anything to say on this subject? We've pretty much...
I think we've beat it to death.
I think we have. Hey, Scott, do you want to... We got something coming up here. You might have a special guest. You might want to think about that as I go into the next segment here.
All right.
Oh, this is... I can't find the thing. Here it comes. All right. We're going to welcome our guest, Beth Anne Freely, who's a writer. I'm going to go down her bio here. With more than 14 years of writing experience as a copywriter and published author, she holds a bachelor's degree in journalism and mass media communication with a minor in marketing and a master's degree in English and creative writing. That's a lot of bona fides there.
Oh yeah.
In 2003, after the prodding of some friends, she published some of her fan fiction online. She won awards for it and decided, I guess Scott dropped out there for a second. She won awards for it and decided to write her first full-length novel. She's currently in the process of rewriting the novel in the hopes of publishing it in 2021. In 2005, Beth was the first place winner of the 2005 Arch Book Publishing Novel Writing Contest, Women's Fiction, with her novel Behind the Eyes of Dorian Gray. The Legend of Captain St. Pierre, her second novel, was written with her best friend Miriam, and is the first book in a planned trilogy. The Lock, planned for a 2021 release, is a big year for you, is her third novel. Welcome, Beth Anne Freely.
Thank you.
To Taskforce Geek.
Thank you.
Scott is going to have a special guest to ask some questions, but I have a few questions for you first.
Fire away.
The first question I have for you is, how did you get into professional writing?
Honestly, I've been writing all my life from the time I was, 8 or 9 years old. I won a writing contest in third grade. Everybody had to write a book in third grade. And the winners got their book, bound and put in the school library. And as far as I know, the book is actually still in my elementary school library.
Nice.
Cool.
Somewhere I have the original, lined notebook paper with the drawings and everything. Because we had to do our own drawings. We had to write our own story and everything. And I think from there, I've just always been a writer. What prompted me to get into professional writing was literally in 2003. I'd been writing fan fiction for years. I got hooked on a TV show called Farscape.
One of my favorites of all time.
Farscape. I started writing fan fiction, and after watching an episode, I think the episode was called for goodness sakes, I can't even remember the name of the episode. But anyway, it was with Captain Crace and right. Crichton, and Crace is talking about his family and the life as a peacekeeper and this, that, and the other thing. And I wrote a sequel to the story, to that episode. Right. And somebody sent me a link to a Farscape board, and they're like, you need to put your fan fiction on here and see if you can win something. And I did. I won first place for my little short story. Yeah. So I started writing more. I had developed a couple of characters, and I started writing more, and people started really reacting to it. And the first book that I showed you, Crace Langtree Chronicles, I wrote. Yeah. This is all Farscape fan fiction. Oh my gosh! It is one continuous story.
How many pages is that?
This is a tome. It is 431 pages.
Hello.
It is basically, it picks up after basically after season 3 of Farscape and covers up through the Peacekeeper Wars.
Wow. All right.
I went on the premise that Captain Crace was not killed at the end of season 3.
All right.
And someone convinced me, spoiler alert, someone convinced me to have it bound and
cool, yeah.
sent to actor Lonnie Tupu, who played Captain Crace.
Ah, yes.
Which I did. A friend of mine delivered it at one of the conventions. And I was at work one day, minding my own business. Phone rings. Phone number I didn't recognize. I pick it up. This is Beth. How may I help you? Is this Beth who wrote the Crace Entry Chronicles? And as soon as I heard the voice, I was like, "Oh dear!" And it was honest guy was Lonnie. He called to thank me for the book, for the present, and he had read it and absolutely loved, where I went with the story. Nice. Yeah,
that is so cool.
That kind of continued me moving forward with writing, and I realized, I've got something here.
Yeah.
One of the girls who followed this story sent me a link to the Arch Books contest. And before I could even decide whether or not I had anything to enter into the contest, my best friend Miriam had paid the $25 entry fee. And she's like, "There you go." And I'm like,
"Nice.
What did you just do to me?" So I went ahead and started looking through what I had. And I had a fan fiction that I wrote based on League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and Dorian Gray, which wound up becoming Behind the Eyes of Dorian Gray. I had always been a fan of the character from high school when I very first read The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. And I went through 3 paperback copies of that book, writing Behind the Eyes of Dorian Gray. So I think that's really where it started, was putting myself out there, letting other people read my writing. And then from there, I started just freelance copywriting on the side.
Cool.
And been doing it ever since.
That's awesome. Let me ask you, well, first tell us about the book Behind the Eyes of Dorian Gray.
So Behind the Eyes of Dorian Gray, this one, this is my baby. I will be the first one to say this is my baby. It started out as an 89 page handwritten fan fiction, as I said. And as I was looking through what I had to potentially enter into this contest, I looked at Dorian and I was like, I can turn that into a novel. There was a word count and everything. I don't even remember what the word count was, but there was a word count with it. And I was like, all right, so let me see what I could do. So I took all those typed pages, dumped it into the computer, and started, putting the story together in my head and really fleshing it out. And the night I had 6 months to do it, from the time my best friend paid to enter me into the contest to the time it was due. I had 6 months. And in that 6 months, I fleshed out the story to over 200 pages. I think it clocks in at like 231. And the night before it was due, my family and I were at my best friend's house in Phoenix. We were getting set to go on a road trip to Vegas the next day. My late ex-husband was running back and forth from her bedroom to her living room, handing me 3.5 floppy disks because she was editing it on her old computer while I was doing all the edits on her new one.
Yeah.
They finally, everybody, her twin boys, my daughter and our daughter, and the Miriam and my late ex, they all crashed on me. I'm still up at 3:30 in the morning, working on it. There were three categories I could enter this book in. One was action adventure. No. One was horror or thriller, which is what I originally was going to enter it in. And then the last one was women's fiction. And at the very last moment, I changed my mind and I entered it into women's fiction. And then got like 2 hours of sleep, and I don't remember the drive to Vegas. Still to this day. Don't remember. No. So they basically when they did the contest, they basically did it in 3 stages. It was like 2 months later, they started announcing the winners, and they did it in stages. On the first stage, they took it from all the entries, which there was 500 entries in each category. They took it from 500 down to 10. I made it through the first round. And everybody that I worked with, they were like, how's it going? How's it going? How's it going? So I just started posting everything on the door to my office. The following week, they took it from 10 to 3. I made it to the next round. The week after that, I had no internet in my house. So I had to wait until I went to work the next day to try and figure out what was going on. Yeah, I'm like on pins and needles because they had been announcing everything a day early.
Sure.
And I get a phone call from Miriam. Is your internet back up yet? No. Jerry, women's fiction is another word for romance. So I told her, I said, no, I said, my internet's not back up. She's like, all right, hold on. She goes, hold on. And I hear her typing in the background. And I hear her go silent. And I'm like, sis, what's the matter? She's good. And she goes, are you sitting down? I started shaking. I said, I am now. Why? And she goes, you won.
Wow.
What? And that was how I got my publishing contract. And that was back in 2005. The book actually came out in 2006. That was the original. That's the first edition. I was working with a small publishing company. So in 2019, I got an email from them saying, we are closing our doors. And when that happened, all the rights reverted back to me, the book. So I simply decided that at that point, after trials and tribulations, working with a publisher, knowing what the process is, working with an editor, I decided I was not going to go back the route of trying to query agents and query publishers again. I was not going to relinquish the creative control.
Yeah.
And I self-published the second edition.
Wow.
Changed the cover.
Yep.
The original book was published on my first married name, which was Carpenter. I changed it to Beth Anne Freely, which is actually my maiden name, which I published under. I fixed mistakes that the editor didn't even catch.
Right.
As I reflowed the document, and I pushed it back out, and I've had considerably better success with a second edition self-published version of this book than I ever did with the first.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It was almost like I wasn't in the right time of my life, so to speak, to really be able to push the book and to publish it, and really market it, because other authors have said the same thing. And this is something that a lot of people don't know. Even if you have a publisher behind you, unless it's one of the bigger publishing houses, and unless they have total faith in your story, you're still doing all of your own marketing.
I've heard that so many times from writers.
Yeah.
That the publishers really don't do much work at all.
They don't.
They might kick down a door or two for you, but I mean, for the most part, they don't help much. And
that's it. They'll kick down a door or two. You might as well do it on your own.
I've heard that so many times.
And I decided to continue with the self-publishing route after, like I said, after the experience that Miriam and I had with The Legend of Captain St. Pierre, the same editor who did Behind the Eyes of Dorian Gray for me. When we submitted St. Pierre and they accepted it, she read it and she's like, well, there's too many characters, and you can't have two main female characters, and you can't have two love stories in the book, and this doesn't fit the romance genre, and blah 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 blah.
Right.
We dug in our heels for 9 years.
Oh.
Because we knew the changes that she was asking for to fit the formula would not work. The story is about twin sisters, and you have to have both sisters to make the story work the way we wrote it. So when we first thought about maybe pulling the book and self-publishing it, the president of the company came back and said, "Hold on for a minute. Send me it. Let me read this." And after reading it, he was like, "Yeah, it's a little long for a romance, but there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know what the heck she was talking about. Fix it the way you want it, and we'll publish it."
There is the problem right there, is that you had one gatekeeper that was holding you up.
Exactly.
Gatekeepers.
So yeah, gatekeepers. So that kind of put a bitter taste in my mouth when it comes to traditional publishing.
Yeah.
So I've gone the self-publishing route. With the lock, Miriam and I have always worked in tandem. We've been doing this for 20 years, working in tandem. And this is the first time she has not had the opportunity to be able to actually sit down and do the first line edits on a book for me. So I reached out to some fans and friends on Twitter, and I said, "Hey, I'm looking for 5 beta readers. You beta read this. When I publish it, you get an autographed copy. No bones about it."
Right.
I got 5 beta readers. They came back with, most of the comments were technical comments. The one person that came back and said to me, "There's something missing," is also the same person that convinced me to take the leap into audiobooks. And her name is Sarah. She lives in Germany, and we've become very good friends through Twitter. And she actually helped me figure out a plot point for the lock that had been kind of sticking with me. And now I just need to go in and add the chapter with that plot point and finish the final edits on it, and the book will be done. And it'll, I'm hoping it'll be on the shelf here before long. I was hoping to get the edits done by my daughter's birthday, which is the 23rd of this month. That's not happening. Because of said audiobook.
Right. I have one other question for you, and then we have a special guest who has some questions for you. And I want to tell everyone who's putting in comments that we will get to those in just a moment. My question is it nerve-wracking to write an established character that everyone knows about, like Dorian Gray? Or is it easier to write a character that's out there?
Honestly, it's a little bit of both. When I decided to use Dorian for the book, I was going off of watching League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and how Stuart Townsend had portrayed him in that movie. And before I actually really started fleshing out the fan fiction into the full novel, I bought a copy of The Picture of Dorian Gray.
Yeah.
It had been years since I read it, and I refamiliarized myself with the character. And after doing that, like I said, I went through 3 paper cut back copies of that book as I was writing Behind the Eyes of Dorian Gray.
Yeah. I think the research should have to be insane, because people will call you on stuff if it's not, accurate.
Well, the same with Legend of Captain St. Pierre. I have Navy people in my family. My brother's ex-Navy, my uncle's ex-Navy, my nephew is, current Navy. So I knew with Legend of Captain St. Pierre, I was just like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to ask you guys, what's the name of these parts of the ship, of this clipper ship, so I get it right. Yes. The research aspect can be nerve-wracking, but yet it's also very satisfying. So with Dorian, I went back and I reread Oscar Wilde's original novel, and then as I was writing and fleshing out the story, I would refer back to it. I mean, the spine was broken on 2 copies of the books, and I had pages everywhere, but they were pages that I had marked, so I kept them close. I didn't care about the rest of the pages. But I kept them close because I was consistently referring back to it. Having that kind of information, having that just having that book there and being able to look at it and read it and reread it and catch the tone, especially with Dorian, because he's a very haughty Englishman, very haughty, very conceited, and kind of cruel, actually. One of my reviewers actually referred to him as a dick, and there you go. Having that book there and being able to refresh my memory, that made it easier writing the established character.
Yeah.
So.
All right, we have a special guest here.
Hi.
Hey.
Okay. So like
Hold on, before you get started, tell us who
Okay.
you are.
Oh, well, my name's Wakelin. I'm Scott's daughter.
There we go.
There you go. So I like think writing's amazing, and like I think it can really change like someone's perspective on things and how they do things. And like I love sometimes like creating things in like my head, and sometimes I'll write them down. Like, how do you like start writing? Like, where do you like start? Like, because I know in school we have to do like brainstorming and all this stuff. Do you like do any of that?
That's where you start. You start with the brainstorming. You get the idea in your head. You either open up, Google Docs on your phone and jot down some notes, or grab a notebook. I mean, you can see behind me, these are all empty notebooks. I'm a little bit of a notebook snob, but I carry a notebook with me everywhere and, jot it down. If I'm in the car driving and I pop up with an idea, I'll, if I'm sitting at the stoplight, I'll open up the voice recorder and I'll record notes to myself. You start with brainstorming. That brainstorming can be triggered by a song. It can be triggered by a character on a TV show or a movie. It could be triggered just by something that you see outside. The Lock, for example, was actually the idea for that was triggered by two things. It was triggered by Maroon 5's Unkiss Me, and actor Richard Armitage, who plays Thorin Oakenshield in the Hobbit movies, did an audiobook of love poems, and he read one, on this audiobook that I listened to, and I was like, oh, who are you in my head, and why are you here? And I started fleshing out the character of Crispin, the love interest in the story, and everything. Brainstorming is the best thing ever. I know people hate doing it, especially in school, but it's the best creative tool that you can ever come up with. I have writer's books, that show you, write a story about this picture. Use them. They are an invaluable tool, especially if you're trying to come up with ideas or trying to flesh out an idea that you had.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Some other things is I'm trying to think. Hold on. What are some like movies and like books that kind of influenced your writing, and you looked at it and you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, I kind of want to write my books off of this or something like that.
Movies, Pirates of the Caribbean. I'll be honest, that was how Legend of Captain St. Pierre started. Legend of Captain St. Pierre started as a fan fiction. And halfway through writing it, Miriam and I are like, what are we doing? We've got a story here that we can work with. So we actually finished the fan fiction and then went back and completely rewrote it so that it was original, so that there was no reference to anything Pirates of the Caribbean short of what the ships look like and pirates in general. Lord of the Rings, both, anything by Tolkien has always been a big inspiration for me. I love Tolkien. I am also a big fan of Russian literature, Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Nabokov. And of course, my all-time favorite writer is Oscar Wilde. For me, the inspiration out of those books come with how they wrote them, the words they used, the prose. They always teach you show, don't tell. But sometimes, and Neil Gaiman is one that has said this, sometimes you have to just tell and not show.
Yeah.
So that level of description, for me, comes out of those books, out of Oscar Wilde's books, out of Russian literature, out of Tolkien. I mean, read the first chapter of The Hobbit and you're stuck in a hole in the ground, but it's the most well-described hole in the ground you will ever read about. Yeah. So hopefully that helps you. And yeah, a little bit of Star Wars too.
Yeah, Star Wars is good. Also, I've been like experiencing a lot of writer's block. So do you have like ideas like how to get out of it and like just
go online and look up creative writing prompts.
Okay.
Get yourself a notebook and a pen. Take one of those prompts and just write it. Just even if all you write is a sentence, Okay?
Okay.
It's the start of something. Writer's block is horrible. It really is. And writer's burnout is just as bad. But writing prompts and journaling has actually gotten me through a lot of it. My friend Walt, he could probably tell you about plenty of times he saw me in the break room at work, sitting there with a notebook, writing, because I had to step away from my desk at lunch, and I got a story idea or something, or I'm just trying to, because even at work, as a copywriter, I was always writing. So, just stepping away from the computer sometimes makes a big difference. That's why I still write with a notebook.
Yeah. When you're like writing your books, do you like base any characters off of like people like in real life, or like people like family or friends?
For me, it's more actors than anything. I will admit it. Crispin from The Lock is based off of actor Richard Armitage. Iden Essex from The Legend of Captain St. Pierre, and his first mate, Mako John, is based off of Johnny Depp, but not Johnny Depp from Pirates of the Caribbean. Mako John is based off of Kiefer Sutherland from, his role in the Three Musketeers. And it's not so much the characters that they played, it's more of what they brought to the character, how they looked, what accent they used. There was a very not so well known movie with Johnny Depp where he plays a gypsy, and it's not Chocolat; it's one of the other ones. And for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it. But his look, how he looked in that movie, how he spoke in that movie, that's what kind of influenced Iden Essex. Even though Iden originally started out as Captain Jack Sparrow in a fan fiction, he morphed into this other character. He morphed into a slightly larger than life character. He's a pirate, but he's got a lot more to him. And I'm not going to say any more because you got to read the second book when I get it out, hopefully by the end of this year, to find out more about it. But yeah, so that's and of course Dorian Gray. My Dorian Gray, like I said, was based on Stuart Townsend.
Yeah.
So with that being also said, when Dirk introduced me and talked about that book that I was currently rewriting, the character in that book, Lord Jericho Jariath, has had 4 different face changes in the last 20 years since I first started the book. And I have finally settled on what Jericho actually looks like to me in my head. And that's who I'm sticking with this time.
Yeah.
Let me get a few of the comments out here from everyone. We've got a lot of stuff going on. Anthony says that he's rewatching season 3 of Farscape and stuff. That was, again, one of my favorite. You answered Jerry's question, which is women's fiction.
Women's fiction.
Why don't they just call it romance? Just call it romance.
Because there's actually a bit of a difference. Women's fiction is more than just romance. So Dorian is actually considered a paranormal romance. Legend of Captain St. Pierre, we pitched it as an action adventure romance.
Mm-hmm.
The Lock is romance. It's The Lock is just a good old fashioned fluffy romance novel, with sex scenes in it. So it's not quite a Harlequin novel. It's not erotica. It's good old fashioned romance. Women's fiction is romance with some meat and potatoes. That's how I describe it. There's more to it than just the love story.
Therese says, Beth, I am so you. Ronnie says, I'm assuming the character of Oscar Wilde's Dorian Gray is public domain, or do you have to acquire those rights? He's on the subject of public domain lately.
So Ronnie, yes, Dorian is in public domain. When I decided to enter that contest, well, let me rephrase that. When my best friend decided to enter me in that contest, the first thing I did was I went to the gentleman that worked in our department who dealt with IP. And I said to him, I said, hey, man, I said, can you do me a favor? I said, you know where to look, a lot faster than I do. I need to know if the character of Dorian Gray is public domain. And sure enough, yes. Oscar Wilde never had any children. He never had any heirs, and
that's the whole premise of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, is it's using public domain characters.
yes, but always to be on the safe side, because with him being in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, someone could have acquired those rights or bought those rights.
Right.
No one ever did. Even to this day, Dorian is still out in public domain. Oscar Wilde never had any heirs, and after 75 years, those copyrights go to public domain, and they're free game. And as soon as he told me, yeah, Dorian's in public domain, boom, off I went. I knew that was the direction I was going to go with the book that I entered.
Jeree says that she's excited that Wakeland's on Taskforce Geek, so welcome.
Hi, me too. I'm excited and nervous at the same time.
You're doing great.
Thanks.
Walt says yep about something.
I know what
question.
Walt's saying yep about seeing me sitting at work with the notebook.
Oh, okay. There you go. Jeree says, thanks for sharing your process. I got a process question in just a minute. And thanks for bringing your precious friend into our community. My question to you, Beth, is, are you a pantser or a plotter?
I am a pantser all the way. Yes, I'm a pantser. I'm a pantser with a little plotting. And when I say with little plotting, I mean usually my plotting goes as far as what I lay out the next chapter. But I'm a pantser. Yeah.
Explain what that is for those who don't know.
So a pantser is someone who writes by the seat of their pants. You don't plot out your novel. You get the idea, you just start throwing it down. You're handwriting it out, or you're typing it out, and it's just flowing, and you just go. A plotter is someone who will sit down with an outline. Good old, this is all your skills that you learn in high school. You sit down with your outline and you figure out this is what happens here and here and here and here. When you take a creative writing course in college, they force you to do it. I'm not saying I didn't pick up some things from it, because I did. But really, there's two trains of thoughts here. You either write by the seat of your pants, or you plot out your entire novel. For me, plotting out an entire novel is boring. It's great if you run into a plot point that isn't working, especially when you go from your first draft to your final edits. Sometimes plotting it out and looking at it and looking at the different acts that are in your book, the plotting helps. But for the most part, I'm a pantser. And I know people that are both. Like my best friend Miriam, she likes to kind of do both. But yeah, I'm definitely a pantser all the way.
Okay. Hey, I'm gonna get off, but thank you so much for having me on here, and thank you, Beth, for giving me that advice. I will.
You are welcome.
Use that.
Thank you for jumping on.
Hey, Wakeland, thank you very much for being on here. You asked great questions. Oh, she's gone.
She's gone. Ronnie did ask a question before that I saw on what book did I read that changed my life or affected my world. Yeah. Ronnie, I would have to say that book is that book has got to be The Hobbit. I read that book.
Wow.
Yes.
You just made a friend.
The Hobbit.
Because Ronnie is a big Lord of the Rings guy. I
was 8 years old when I read it from front to back by myself without any help ever. I could not put the book down. Just the pure imagination, the pure description in that book, appealed to me, appealed to every sense of imagination that I had. I love you too, Ronnie. And Ronnie, I suspect you're probably one of the only other people that I know that has read the Silmarillion all the way through. Probably the other book I would have to say besides The Hobbit is Dune by Frank Herbert. Those two books.
Yeah, interesting.
Ronnie touts reading the correspondence of Tolkien. He's such a huge fan. The man writes a letter and he reads it like it's the gospel.
He says he could never pants.
It was written before like 1970, so
it would never have an ending. That's one of the things with, Stephen King is a famous pantser.
Yes.
That guy just, and that's how you get, 1,200 pages in it.
Stephen King also dreams his books, and I would never want to be in that man's head. There's just no way.
He's got some interesting ideas, man.
Ooh, yeah.
Jury says, Wakeland, who's no longer here, your opinions are so needed here.
What? She's not going to replace I'm the original, man.
Well, I appreciate her being here.
Okay?
She did a great job.
She did.
Good.
She asked great questions, and she did awesome. Ronnie's talking about the history. We got on Lord of the Rings, so now we'll never get off of it. With Ronnie's got 44 more comments on Lord of the Rings.
Ronnie, you and I have to talk later.
I have one more question, and that is you do marketing and you do self-publishing. What is your advice to people who self-publish stuff? Scott and Sean and I and several other of our friends are doing, books and comics and all kinds of stuff. Any advice that you get to us or to people who are watching on how to promote one of your projects?
Man, use social media like crazy. Whatever social media you can use. So with the audiobook for Dorian, I spoke with my narrator, and we decided to do, a 14-day push up to Valentine's Day. So I've been doing hashtag 14 days of Dorian Gray and coming up with something every day that has gotten me some traction. Look for the small bookstores. Stay away from the Barnes and Nobles of the world. And don't get me wrong, I love Barnes and Noble, but unless your name is Stephen King, it's very hard to get them to get in there and give you a shot for any sort of author interview or author event. I've actually had better luck with half-price books getting author events.
Interesting.
Yeah. Look for the indie stores. Look, there's small indie stores here in Dallas that I'm getting set to start looking into. Look at the indie stores.
Hey, they appreciate the publicity, or like an event to get butts in the store just as much as you do.
One of the best things that I did was I'm part of several different writers groups, and one of them. No, Walt, I haven't yet, and I will. Walt asked me if I mentioned who my narrator is, and we'll come to that in a minute. I went to an event that was marketing for with other authors, and I discovered that Texas has its own author guild. Go figure.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Authors Marketing LLC, and it's $50 a year, and the best thing I could have ever done was join them, because my book is in their indie bookstore. They're doing, even with COVID in place, they're doing different events, one of which I will be attending at the end of May, which is the Texas, the Lone Star Book Festival, which will be in Seguin. Go to these events, get out there in front of people, and go to these events. There's another one in Galveston that I'm hoping to do. They're putting together brochures for the London Book Festival. So join those kind of things. Do those kind of events. Podcasts. Yep. I the exposure here, I'm going to be honest, you guys are helping me out. And it's fun in the process. But do podcasts. Ask people, if you're on a Twitter feed and someone, you see someone that reviews books or reviews audiobooks, say, hey, if I give you the free code to my audiobook, or if I give you a free copy of the book, would you write a review for me? Mm-hmm. My audiobook for Behind the Eyes of Dorian Gray has already gotten 5 fantastic reviews, all 4 and 5 stars.
Yeah.
You have to do the research. You have to put yourself out there. And it's time consuming, but it's worth it.
It is.
It's worth it.
Yeah. You got to, I say that your back end should be just as much as your creative time.
Yes. and
which
it
is
has been.
accounting and marketing and whatever shipping stuff and whatever it is.
Yep.
It should take up quite a bit of your time.
Yeah, and it does. It does. So.
Let's talk a little bit about your audiobook, which Walt mentioned right there.
So I got lucky in that I started.
You're starting to smile, so this has got to be really good.
There's an MCU connection here, okay? And that's
All
what
right.
actually cracks me up. There is an MCU connection here. So I mentioned earlier my friend Sarah Lena, who lives in Germany, and we were talking about audiobooks, and she was like, you need to try and get that out. You need to try and get your book out. And I was like, well, yeah, I want to do an audiobook, but I don't even know where to start. Well, the next day in my inbox, she had posted this blog article about ACX. What is ACX? So I look into it and I'm like, oh, hey, check this out. Neil Gaiman started this for people like me. Hey. So I'm like, all right, why not? And I took the chance and I put out a call for interviews, for auditions. Put up the blurb that I wanted, the narrator to send me back. I got 4 auditions come back. 1, the gentleman was too old. 1, the gentleman was too mechanical. The 3rd gentleman was just kind of boring. But the 4th one came in, and there was a note with it. Love the character of Dorian Gray. Would love to work on this with you. And the narrator's name was Max Brown. And I'm going, why do I know this name? And I hit click and I listened to it. And 5 seconds in, I started screaming, and my husband was like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. He's like, what? And I'm like, I just got an audition from Max Brown. He's like, who is Max Brown? And I'm like, how dare you ask me this? I was familiar with Max's work from The Tudors, in which he played Edward Seymour on The Tudors. Most recent television show he was in was called The Royals, which he plays King Robert. Here's the MCU connection. He played Peggy Carter's brother Michael in 2 episodes of Agent Carter.
Okay.
He was in the remake series of Beauty and the Beast. And he also co-starred with John Hurt in his very last movie, That Good Night.
Oh, wow.
This is who read my book.
That's awesome.
As soon as I heard the audition, as soon as I heard his voice, other than knowing who he was, as soon as I heard him read that sample, I got the cold chills. I got the goosebumps. And I was like, this is my Dorian. He was phenomenal. He has been such a joy to work with. That's Max. He has, I went through a rough time back in October. My mom got sick. And bless his heart, he saw the note on Twitter and he emailed me, which just, that meant the world to me. And he has been absolutely wonderful to work with. And yeah, that's my narrator. That's Max. That's my partner on this book. So yeah.
That's cool. Very
cool. We went through the whole process, and it was a learning process for both of us. We had hoped to have the book out by Christmas, but ACX was already running behind. And so it actually dropped January 15th, I believe, the book dropped into audio format. So that's why we've been doing the full Valentine's Day push with the book, because it really is a romance. It's a love story. It's a redemption story. And, to hear him read it, like I said before, this is my baby, and I could not have asked for someone better to read my book.
That's awesome that you got that audition from him.
First
that he
time
found you
out.
on there. That's
Yes.
pretty crazy.
Yeah. First time out. He is a big
That
fan
goes
of
to show
Dorian
you.
Gray.
Yeah, that goes to show it was just the right project.
Mm-hmm. And the right
That's
time.
awesome.
And the right time.
Very cool. All right, well, we're going to get on to our since it's Valentine's Day, we're going to get on to our next subject. And I also have something else that I want to do with you here in a minute, Beth.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right, it's our Valentine's Day episode. So the question that I'm going to ask everyone here, and I have a feeling we're going to kind of pick some of the same things, but the question is, what is your favorite romantic genre film? So it can't be like, a rom-com or something. It has to have some genre element to it. And the first person I'm going to go to on this is our guest, Beth.
Deadpool.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good choice.
Deadpool. All the way.
Very good. The first Deadpool.
The first Deadpool.
Yep.
Come on, man. He's the whole year of romance segment in that movie is absolutely awesome. Okay, culminating with the ugly Christmas sweater, and we're just going to leave that right there. But yeah, Deadpool, all the way.
All right, before we get off of you here, I want you to show people what's happening behind you on your shelves there, so they can get an idea of exactly what level of geek that we're talking about here.
Okay,
so
well, you see the Star Wars.
Kind of
Star Wars.
A tour of what's going on there.
Okay, so let me give you a tour of what's going on.
Got some pops.
Oh, there's all sorts of pops. So
Lots of books.
Over here, this is the shelf of my books. Over here, we have the Falcon and Winter Soldier Bucky. I'm a huge Bucky Barnes fan. We're just going to leave it at that. Of course, you can see my cat bear. All right, I'm going to try and do this without making you guys dizzy.
Oh man, you are also the Grim Reaper. That's
my husband's. We're not going to talk about that.
Sure. You're married to the Grim Reaper. You're hiding
married
that.
To the Grim Reaper. So behind me is the beginning of my Captain America collection.
Right.
Ooh,
I am a huge Captain America fan.
I see the Winter Soldier up there.
Yeah.
See the shield that you're going to send me in the mail. That's cool.
That was a birthday present from two of my daughter's best friends. It has been used once.
But that is the shield you promised me before we started the show, right?
No.
I have a birthday coming up in March. Okay. Well.
As you can see, I got more Captain America. That drawing I did in high school.
Nice.
I got some Negan going on here.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
So Star Wars, that's awesome.
And then there's some more pops, which includes Castlevania on the top.
Yeah.
I've got Trevor and Alucard up there with Thorin. There's Daryl Dixon. There's Morticia and Gomez. Please notice the Nick Fury and Goose shelf. There's Cap and there's Tony. There's Iron Man in the Endgame uniform.
Right.
There's Doctor Who there. Number 4 and K9.
Yeah,
so there's geek going, and then don't mind the messy bed, but there's the kids.
Nice.
So,
all right, Beth. I already got a question for you.
Okay.
This is the most pops I've ever seen out of a box. Ever, because I have a lot of friends who buy pops, but almost none of them take them out of the package. I'm very proud of you for that.
Thank you.
You get props for that.
I take them out. It was like I was telling Dirk before the show started. I still have my original Star Wars toys from when I was a kid. They are in a huge chest in my closet. They have all been played with, and I will not part with them. And if I buy a collectible, depending on what it is, I will keep the box, but most of the time it comes out and goes on the shelf. My Cap and Bucky, they're sideshow pieces. I have the boxes under my desk, but as you saw, they're out. They're put together. They're on display. Those are my
That's
boys.
good.
I want to be able to look at them.
That's good.
That's awesome. You should show us the new Winter Soldier that you have. I mean, it's brand new. If people are interested in this sort of thing, this is from
This is Bucky from
Falcon
and Winter Soldier.
I didn't even know these were out yet.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, she's on top of it, folks.
I caught him on Amazon. Eventually, I will get Falcon to go with him. But there's Bucky.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He is motion Bucky. This is the first pop I've seen that comes with a stand.
Yeah,
That's neat.
that's unusual. They're usually just kind of a block.
I kind of wish one of my Groots had a stand like this because he never stands up straight. He falls over all the time.
They all
yes.
should come with stands. I always
I
say
agree.
all toys either need to come with a stand or be able to stand up
Yeah,
for
Yeah.
display purposes.
I agree.
So.
that's why
Especially
one of my
McFarlane toys.
That's why one of my Captain Americas is still in the box. I took him out and he will not stand. So I was like, okay, fine, back in the box you go. Up there. But yeah, so that's my newest Bucky.
Very cool.
So
All right, Sean, I'm going to you next on the Valentine's.
Scott wanted to go. Scott wanted to go.
Scott
Yeah, I
wanted, I'm
said I
sorry.
wanted to go first and you were going to make me go last. You meanie?
All right, okay. Scott, we're going to you, man.
I feared that somebody was going to steal mine because when we had this topic come up, I
Dude,
was
we're
like,
all going to. We all have that issue.
no, I
I
figured
sus-
you guys would come up with 3 or 4 of them. So I'm
Okay.
going to
I have a
That's what-
list.
Of
see.
course,
Sean has a list, and I figured
I
Derek
have
has
a
a
list.
list.
I have a list too, but I just think that I don't need to say any more than Deadpool, man.
All right. I'm going to give you 2, and I'm going to give you the reasons behind it. Fifth Element's one of them, because I think every man, when that movie came out, and I'm going to get flack for this, but every man was like in love with that character. This like genetically created being that could barely speak, but was hot with the bright orange hair and everything else. I think that's maybe not really a love story, but at the same time, the whole thing behind
of course
that
it
is
was.
love.
The whole damn. That was the
Love
theme
story,
of
That was
the-
the whole point of the
I
movie.
know, but
the
like a
entire
lot of
theme
people
of
don't
the-
think of it
or
that
the plot
way.
of the movie. That's a great choice.
The overall arcing thing is like the essence of love, right? But like, there's not romancing the whole time, is what I'm saying.
No.
The second one I thought of is a movie that every time it's on TV, I don't know too many people that just go, I don't want to watch this right now, is The Princess Bride. You get caught up. You're pissed because that movie's on. You're like, what? Okay, I'll watch it. I mean, like, if it gets me to stop and watch the rest of it, then it probably gets a lot of you people because you guys love movies even more than me. So I'm going to go with The Princess Bride
Beth is showing her hand on that one.
and The Fifth
it's
Element.
It's not because I'm I like The Princess Bride. I do. Don't get me wrong. I like The Princess Bride. I think it is an overrated movie.
I will agree with you, just like maybe the Christmas Story movie, that traditional classic is overrated, but I think we love it so much because at least I was way younger, when I saw it. And so it's it just hits the right spot. You can go like, this is not really the greatest movie, but I sure love it. So.
It was a one-time movie for me. I enjoyed it the one time. I joke around with, with some of the sayings. Probably never going to hear the end of it from my brother and sister, but that's okay. But yeah, it's. I watched it once. I see it on TV, and I'm like, yeah, okay, and just move on.
I picked those 2 because one, those were like maybe the only 2 I could really think of, but they really stood out. But they're both the same way. If I catch Fifth Element on, I end up like, I guess I'll kind of watch this, and I should be doing something else. So those are my 2. Now you can go to Sean.
All right, Sean's got 46 movies.
Princess Bride is a good one. I actually, when that movie came out, I think I saw it at least 4 times in the theater.
I never heard of it until like way later in life. Like that's another movie that I did not see out at theaters or even heard of it.
Same here. Yeah, same here.
Strangely, Scott, that does not shock me. Let's see. The first one that I whenever the topic was thrown at me, the first movie that popped into my head was a movie starring Malcolm McDowell and David Warner called Time After Time.
That's a good choice.
Yes.
It is by far, for me anyway.
Never heard of it.
So not A Clockwork Orange?
No. No, not A Clockwork Orange. Another very good Malcolm McDowell film, but
kind of a romance movie.
Clockwork Orange was a romantic movie. I've never seen Clockwork Orange.
Stretching the definition of romance.
Definitely not a romance. Definitely not a romance.
We're gonna have to have a talk. I don't
own it.
I think I do. Anyway, the other big one that came to mind was a movie starring Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour called Somewhere in Time.
Ah, yes.
Which I thought was, again, absolutely fantastic. When it came out, it not being a big romance movie fan, I couldn't stop watching either of those films. Honorable mentions were Warm Bodies. Anybody at all?
I don't even know what that is.
I don't know
like
if
a
that one
zombie
is
thing.
That is a zombie movie.
I think you might have made that up.
No, it's a zombie movie starring what's his name? Holt.
The Holt guy that you love.
Jeremy Holt, is that right? Anyway,
that doesn't sound right.
Any case, he's a zombie who falls in love with a living girl and slowly becomes alive again. Another honorable mention was Wall-E. The dance with the dance of the two robots in space is by far my favorite.
Yeah.
And finally, one that I'm sure no one will ever
Twilight.
think of.
Twilight.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you liked that a lot.
Don't make me gag.
It's not a no.
Oh, Ghost.
Oh God, no. God, come on, man.
It is a genre film.
It's no. It's not actually a romantic movie, but it is a. How do I want to put this? It is a love letter of sorts, and that movie's Big Fish.
Where I really enjoyed
with Ewan McGregor.
With Ewan McGregor,
yes.
where you literally go through his imagination, his perception of the world.
I think that's really Tim Burton's best film.
That is Tim Burton's, in my opinion. That is Tim Burton's best film of all time.
Never seen it.
No surprise.
It's worth it. It's worth a look, man.
It's an excellent movie.
And that's all I'm going to give you.
All right. My pick is Ex Machina, about an evil robot girl that seduces a guy and then betrays him because love is dead.
Romance.
My pick is The Princess Bride too. I love The Princess Bride. That's another movie that I could watch all the time. So anyway, and I think that it's not just about the love of the two characters, but it's also more. It's also about the love of the grandfather and the grandson, and so it's kind of weaved throughout the entire plot, the two plots of the movie, and also several of the other characters. It's very much about love. The whole movie is. So that's my choice. Let's see what we have for comments here. What is it? Walt says, I know when you told me about it, it's like no S, and that was like no S. Ronnie says Max Brown would be great just reading a menu.
Max Brown would be great just reading a menu.
This is a good one. Lady Hawk. That is a great one. Very good. I'm not even going to say this because it's going to get me in trouble.
No,
with
don't
YouTube
say that.
again. Yep, not saying it.
God, Ronnie is like after us tonight.
He just has a filthy
guy gets
mouth.
us in trouble. Yeah, he's filthy.
He is filthy.
I got to admit, none of you said, when you mentioned sci-fi genre, I was actually surprised that none of you said one that immediately popped into my head before Deadpool.
What's that?
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah,
you could.
From start to finish, if you just watch Leia and Han, from start to finish, they start out bickering like an old married couple and keep on going.
Right.
I asked Jennifer right before we started recording this, and I said, is there like a sci-fi romance movie that I love? And she said Star Wars.
Star Wars typically does romance really bad, but Empire Strikes Back is the best it gets for sure.
Yeah. The whole "I love you, I know"
a lot by the actors who were really spectacular, and who contributed to lines and stuff to the movie that made it a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
That somehow shoehorned that stuff past Lucas. Ronnie mentioned something earlier about Sean and I doing a graphic novel on the land that time forgot. I don't think I'm going to do that, Ronnie. That sounds like a lot of work. I did talk about maybe
we'll see how I feel after retirement.
Like maybe some illustrated novel stuff that might be up my alley, but I don't know. Doing a whole graphic novel, that's a lot of work there. Yeah, I love you, Han. I know. That was not in the script, folks. All right, let's get on to the next subject.
Ooh.
All right, this is our subject called On Blast, and On Blast is basically about something that we watched or we play, video games we played, or something we read, just anything that we want to get out there, we want other people to know about because we think it's cool. And so first on that, I think I'm going to go to Sean.
I didn't really take in a whole lot this weekend. I was working on stuff. Didn't really have a whole lot of time to just watch stuff or play stuff or anything. Just a lot of work, unfortunately.
So you don't have anything?
I don't really have anything.
All right.
That's fair.
We're going to go. That's fine. We're going to go to Beth then.
Oh, probably watching. Well, let me rephrase that. Listening to my husband cuss out Demon Souls and Dark Souls for the last week or so. This goes back to the whole video game conversation from earlier. He was playing Dark Souls 2, and apparently they've changed the format from the first two games, and he does not like it, and there were cuss words flying and everything else, and I work from home, and I finally had to look at him and go, excuse me. Could you lower the cuss level down just a wee bit?
You are making this a hostile work environment.
Yeah, right. A hostile work environment. No, I just don't need my coworkers hearing it, over the microphone, although they probably laugh. But with that being said, I actually have some cool coworkers. Walter, you're the coolest. Just saying.
He knows that.
I've
don't pump him up. We'll never hear the end of it.
He's already got a big head.
I miss working with him, trust me. But I actually I started a new job back in the beginning of January, and I finally got to meet the VP of our department, and we've got all the backgrounds and everything, and my cat walks across the screen, which caused the background to skew, and he saw the Star Wars poster, and the next thing I know, I'm on a 10-minute conversation about Star Wars with the VP. Nice. So yeah.
All right. Let's see. Scott's next.
All right. I'm going to kind of recap some goodies here. So I think it was almost a month ago, 4 weeks ago, we talked about Star Wars, The High Republic, #1.
Right.
I said it's okay. It's not great. It's not bad. I don't know if it's for me type deal. And we had a conversation. I'm here to tell everybody that
Walt says, I know, Beth. I know.
I know.
That's great. I'm here to let everybody know I read issue 2 that came out last week. It is, to me, much better. So if you want to take the first issue is kind of world setup and the second issue starts getting going. I even posted this on Facebook today and tweeted it out. Matter of fact, I had the writer like my comment, even though I said like issue 2, for people on the fence, issue 2 is definitely better than issue 1. So the writer himself
All right.
somehow saw my tweet, which is really weird. So that kind of cool, right?
Hey, it happens. That's
So
Dude,
yeah,
it's
Twitter.
awesome. It's awesome when they start tweeting you back. Yeah.
exactly. So anyways, if you bought number 1 and you're thinking about I'm not going to get number 2 because it's not exactly what I wanted, number 2 is a lot better. So I'm looking forward to issue 3. Some goodies that come out tomorrow, just for everybody out there. I got my comics a day early. If you like S.W.O.R.D from WandaVision,
okay.
It is an X book though, so you're not going to get the same thing. But it's been a really good X book. It's on issue 3.
Nice.
I'm about
So
to say,
that's coming out
how
tomorrow.
far are they on that? Who's the main character in that?
The whole X team. I mean, like it's basically Cable and Agent Brand kind of are the main
Really?
people. It's mutants in space type deal. And then we
That
have
sounds good.
second issue of Eternals with the beautiful art by Esad Ribic.
Yeah.
Great story there. So that's coming out tomorrow.
Cool.
Speaking of Star Wars, we talk often about like the Marvel books. These are really good. I'm telling you, people, like the first Star Wars series that came out was right after New Hope for like 75 issues. And then they had other miniseries of stuff. They even had a Darth Vader series, which I did not read. This next series, which is like on issue 10, I believe, takes place after Empire Strikes Back. So like Han's not even a main character there, but Lando is. And then there's a Darth Vader series that picks up right after Empire as well.
That one I want to read.
This has been an incredible story arc right here. You want to know why Darth Vader kind of turns on the Emperor pretty quick? Well, in this story arc here, you're going, damn, he did that to Darth Vader? Anyways, if you're not reading this, good idea to read that. With the King of Black stuff, we got a new version of Thunderbolts. I didn't want to pick it up. I picked it up because I was bored and read it at the shop.
Really?
I'm buying number 2. It's really, 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 really good. Pick this up. Yeah, it's good. Trust me.
I've got a question on that. Is Bucky still leading the Thunderbolts in this one?
No. This is like with Taskmaster and a bunch of other little
Okay, so it's moved on past Bucky's run with it. Okay.
Yes. This is in the big King of Black thing, the Knoll, the symbiotic god or whatever, has taken over the world and blacked it out for a while.
Okay.
And they need some help in New York City. So the Kingpin gets Norman Osborn to assemble a Thunderbolts team. And you wouldn't think it's like really good, but the art's really nice actually. And the writing's really good too. So I highly recommend that. And then last but not least, I picked this up on a whim. I knew nothing about this. This is called Orcs.
Is that Eric Larson?
No, this is Christine Larson, which is a female writer artist I've never seen before.
All right.
But this is from Kaboom, which is like Boom's kids line or young adults line.
I like the color in it a lot.
It's really beautiful. I'm glad I kind of just picked it up on a whim. It comes out tomorrow. This is Orcs number 1. I'm kind of hoping that not only I will love it, but I'm going to make my kids read it.
Right.
Especially my 10-year-old. And we'll give it a try and see what it thinks. But yeah, the art is like, it's really nice. I mean, it's got some, if you like a cartoony style, but the colors are really beautiful. She does the illustrations and writes it. So anyways, we ordered heavy on this because the owner wanted to kind of promote that. So I'm just letting you know what's coming out tomorrow since I got a little sneak peek. And then the last thing I want to talk about is, remember we had Doug Wood on here, who I think it was Nameless, I think was the thing that he was doing, and some other comics that I know I kickstarted. He's having he gave me like a digital edition of the Project Big Hype that's coming out, which is like his big Shonen Jump version where he has like 25 different creative teams doing stories into this big book.
Right.
I know the release date, I guess, is the 17th of February. Now, I'm not sure if that means it's going to Kickstarter or Indiegogo or if you can order it separate from him. But I've read some of the stories. I have not read it all. There's a lot of stories. There's a lot of beautiful art, and there's some really good stories here. So when Project Big Hype comes out, I highly suggest you pick it up. It's going to be a really fun thing. Doug, last time I talked to him, said like, he's preparing all the files and everything to be sent out, and the table of contents wasn't in like the edition I got because he's still working on that. It's really fun, and like, if you don't like one art style, there's an art style you will like, I promise you, because it's all out there in all these different styles. You know, just because he says he wants to do this like a Shonen Jump style, that doesn't mean it's all manga or anything like that at all. So it's really cool. It's a nice collaboration of all these independent comic people. And when you see this and read these things, it really makes you kind of want to just like, you know, hey, let's order some pizza and create a comic, you know, type deal. So that's always a good feeling if it gets you to think like that.
Scott, if you're in touch with him, why don't you have him, why don't you
see if we can get him on?
I mean, if he's got something coming up, we would like to have him back on the show.
For those who,
he was a great guest.
Yeah, he's on Twitter, and you can find him at Doug A. Wood with a number 1. So at Doug Doug A. Wood WOOD 1, and you can find out all about Project Big Hype on them. He's a great follow. He loves comics. He loves writing. You know, it's a good thing. So, and he talks to everybody. So get out there and support our local creators too. So.
Yeah, see if we can't get him on here again.
Okay,
he is really cool, and I was interested in that project. I mean, how long ago did we have him on? It seemed like it was a little further away that we were going to get that thing released. Maybe it's just been a while. Let's see. Ronnie says the Love Jedi. What do you tell them? Feel the Force.
Oh,
all right, I'm going to try something I've never done before. So,
oh geez,
let's see if I destroy the stream or if it works. Okay.
Don't cross the streams.
Across the street.
Strike when the moon is highest. Moonshadow elves are dangerous elite fighters.
Can't you just make peace with them?
It's not that simple. There's history of wrongs on both sides.
Humans cut down the king of the dragons and destroyed his own.
Did we break the internet?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Broke something.
That's okay. We saw a lot. What is that?
I'm intrigued.
That's interesting. I don't know why it stopped. This is a show called. Oh well, now it's going to start back up again. See, there's the issue. That's okay. That was kind of a test, just as much as my on blast. That's a thing called the Dragon Prince. It's from Netflix. This is something that I just watched kind of on a whim. I'm going to kill this thing because apparently it's going to continue to play. This is a series that is made for children. It's Y7. So apparently if you're 7 years or older, that it's made for you to watch this. So it's a children's show, and it's basically, they have 3 seasons of this thing so far. It's obviously high fantasy type stuff. I just watched it on a whim, and then suddenly I'm 5 episodes into this thing. It is exceptionally well written. The characters are great. The setup, the story, the world is great. But maybe most importantly, the way that all of the characters in this thing are very gray, in that you could, even the people who are antagonistic in this thing, you could see their point. So, they have a guy who's in the court with the king there, who is kind of meant to be an a-hole or whatever, but you could also kind of see his point of view on some of this stuff. All of the characters have multiple facets, and there are no minor characters in this thing. For being an animated series that's made for children, this thing is very complex and very interesting. You can see that they're building this thing up. What it reminds me of is something else that I've watched recently, which is Avatar. And it's for kids. Kids can watch it. It's really it's well done, and safe for kids to watch. But if you're an adult, there's a lot to chew on here. The characters are far more interesting than a lot of adult television shows or movies or anything. This movie, this series called the Dragon Prince, is really excellent, and I give it my highest recommendation so far. I mean, maybe it falls apart after the 5th episode, but what I see is that they are setting up something that obviously can play out over multiple seasons and be very interesting. And it's very clear to me that they are setting these characters up, like all of the characters, to have an amazing character arc. So anyway, please check it out. It's called The Dragon Prince. It's available right now on Netflix. All right. Here comes our final Oh, I don't have a thing on this. I got to get a thing on this.
A thing. You sound like an old man.
I need a transition here. It's promo time. So first for that, we're going to go to Beth. Beth, just tell everyone where they can find you.
I can be found on Facebook, Beth Anne Freely. Look for my author page. I can also be found on Twitter at BA Freely. Instagram is also at BA Freely. And look up my website, which is bethannefreely.com. All of my books are on there. I also have a blog on there that I'm hoping to now start, kicking back into gear, talking about writing and, story snippets and stuff like that.
Cool.
And each book has a link to all the places that you can buy the books or the audio. And real quick, I know I talked about Behind the Eyes of Dorian Gray. The audiobook for The Legend of Captain St. Pierre dropped also last week on February 1st. So in a couple of days, I'll have the links. Yeah, so far. So I'll have the links for the audio for Captain of St. Pierre as well up there within the next few days.
Very, very cool. Let's see, where is this thing here? Let's go to Scott.
Oh, I was going to do something here.
Well, let's go to Sean. That's what I meant. This is a well-oiled machine here, folks.
You can go back to me. I'm ready now.
Heck with you.
All right.
I may never go back to you.
All right.
Go ahead, Sean, man. You're on live. It's live.
As always, you can find me at rainKingStudios.com along with my other studio mates.
Which includes Scott and me and Robert
Henry. You can check us out. You can see artwork, hopefully projects that we'll be working on in the near future.
Yep. Yada,
yada. All the various ways to find us and chat with us and get our opinions on stuff. Also, check us out on Facebook /Ranking Studios.
Right.
Feel free, please stop by, drop us a line, tell us you like us, tell us you hate us, tell us your most sincerest of Valentine's Day thoughts of us, and we will hopefully if it's juicy,
we're single.
We'll give you some.
Hard to believe, I know.
We'll give you some emails back.
I'm not. I better clarify. I'm not single. Or
okay. Well, I mean, you're not married.
That's true. Thanks.
I mean, that's the definition of single.
He is in so much trouble now.
I feel soul tethered, if that makes sense. Like,
wow,
nice.
How about that?
I'm using that. Soul tethered.
Okay. That is wonderful.
I mean that in the most endearing way. Don't make fun of me.
I'm not making fun.
I'm not making fun. I like it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I like it too. Seriously, I'm using that.
Okay.
I'm smushy in that way. I like that. I have one other thing for Sean here, and that is his Twitch address here, which is PLN. It's Plain State Graphics without any vowels.
It's GFX, not GRX.
Okay, I screwed that up.
Oh, great.
The reason why I put that on there is that, and in addition to the Twitch account, which is Taskforce Geek, Sean and I are going to be doing a playthrough of the Division 2 from the very beginning of it, with two avatars that look like our dads. So if you're interested in that, we'll both be independently playing on those channels. So it's that account and then the Task Force Geek account that you're watching it. Hopefully,
there you go. I fixed it.
Thank you. It will be both of us playing at the same time. You can watch either account or both, whatever you want to do on that. All right, Scott, are you ready for this?
Yeah. First,
Are you ready?
Before you start throwing up my stuff as I talk, what you do, Dirk, I'm going to put this up here. I found Doug's big project. It is a Kickstarter project. It does launch on the 17th, is what it looks like here.
Yep.
So it's not far away at all. There you go. You can go and go support Doug. I mean, man, I'm telling you. I've seen the stories.
A good guy, and
I've seen all the art. I don't know how much he's going to show because you don't want to give away a comic. You want people to
yeah, of course,
support your comic, but it's going to be well worth it. So there you go. There's the link for Doug's project, and we'll try to get a hold of him and get him on here. So I'm going to take this off and let Dirk do the rest of the stuff. You can find me, as you know, I am a Blood Bowl game player and podcaster. I've been doing it for over 10 years. You can catch me over at bothdown.com or on iTunes. You can just search in for Blood Bowl or Both Down, and you'll get us to come up. And you can also find me at Real Scott Prime over on Twitter. And if you're lucky enough, you can find me on Facebook right there on Both Down. That's a good way to get a hold of me if you're also trying to get a hold of me there. So that covers all of us. We're also on
and the Twitters.
Yeah, besides Real Scott Prime over here. I got to do this opposite. I hate this. Anyways, over here. I don't know
it's
how
harder than you think if you've never done it.
The weathermen have to really train themselves, right?
Yes, they do.
There's also, you can also go to at Both Down at Twitter if you want to talk to me and my podcast partner there. So that's all you got for me.
That's good enough. All right. And for me, again, Ranking Studios is always a good place to go. And then also on Facebook at Dark Hooper Artworks and Twitter, Dark Hooper Plus on Twitter. We talk to each other. And again, I'm also on Ranking Studios. You can see my profile on there, as well as Scott and Sean and Robert. You can see all of us cats over there. All right, let's see. Ronnie says, great show, guys, and Beth. I've been needing to vent lately. Thanks for doing the show, y'all. And sorry for all the messages. We like all the messages. That's what this thing is for. Bring it. Walt is laughing for some reason. Why is he laughing at us? Why?
Because he always does.
I want to know.
He's mean.
Probably the misspelling of my address.
Yeah, probably so.
I fixed it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's good stuff here. Beth, you were a great guest. I want to say that you're invited back anytime. If you've got another 18 projects that are coming out this year, you should drop by again and
I definitely will.
Let us promote it.
Or if you just want to come back and talk geek stuff, that's fine.
Yeah, you
definitely.
You've definitely proven yourself to be very adept at our subject. So you really nailed it on both accounts.
As Walt pointed out, yes, I am jonesing for Falcon and Winter Soldier. So let's get a couple episodes into that, and I will be more than happy to come back. And
what is that? March?
We'll discuss that. March 19th. Yeah, like March 19th. See, cool. I even know the date.
There you go. Yeah, she's for real, folks. Walt is laughing, I guess, about Soul Tethered.
I like Soul Tethered.
I do too.
Awesome phrase.
I'm actually not laughing at him. I'm laughing at the phrase. It's a good one.
That's right. So nobody can take her. She's mine.
All right. Well, also for Scott and Sean, thank you very much, guys. And thanks for everyone for chiming in here this evening. We had a lot of people chiming in. We do appreciate that. So for our guest, Beth, and for Scott and Sean, thanks for watching. And until next time, dream hard and happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day.
You people go have some sex. With your honey.
Of course. Not with strangers.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
I thought you were going to cut it off about right then. And you would have been like, dang it. Oh,
I felt like you had something else. Yes, it is.
Forever on the internet.
You can't take it back. Thanks, everyone.